Let's mount up.
So last year I was working on a redesign for the 3-axis skull that I had. I was never very happy with the movement on it, and I was just kind of having some problems with the servos and getting it all to work right. So last year I worked on a redesign which I think will be pretty good once it's done, but unfortunately I just haven't really worked on it since then. And now is not the best time to do that if I want to get the photo booth done. So I've got an idea that I'm going to try out, and let me show you what I got going. So we have this Halloween decoration here, and what this guy does is repeats back what you say to him, just like this. I will repeat back everything that is said. Since I'd really like to have a talking skull in the photo booth, and I have all of that great audio for him, I'm going to attempt to reverse engineer this, take it apart and see if maybe I can use the mechanisms in here and eyes and all just to create my own talking skeleton for now. In the future I definitely think it would be very awesome to have the 3-axis motion, but I'm going to have to save that until I get myself to work on it during the off season, because it seems like every year I spend my time on that because, well, that would be pretty cool, and then it just ends up taking too long. So I'm hoping that this will be a quick solution to getting a talking skull for the photo booth. Well, I performed a craniotomy on this guy, and thinking I can work with this here. It's interesting, the inside here is controlled by just this little motor, and then when it detects audio, it basically just kind of runs real quick, pulls it in, and then reverses to unwind it. There's a little string. So I guess I could actually come up with something that controls that. But what I'm thinking is maybe I could just put a servo in there. It'd be great if I could even mount it up here where the motor's mounted, connect that to this lever here which controls the jaw. And then I have a board that I purchased for controlling the servo and syncing all the audio and all that good stuff. So it'd be great if I could just do that. And then what I could do is, this is just kind of one solid piece here, so I could cut off the, so I could do a beheading here, cut off the bottom, and then maybe stick this on one of our existing skeletons. I don't know. I think it might work. Alright guys, so I just wanted to show you where I'm at with the camera for the photo booth. I've got most of it built now, which is awesome. I just built the frames out of some pine boards that I had. I had picked these up several years ago, and what I did is I just looked at some different photos of old cameras for inspiration and just kind of went with it, and this is what I came up with. I've got this 3D printed lens here. I made this a couple years ago. I just kind of designed it to basically look like these old lenses, and the cool thing is this end piece here is set up to mount the camera, the Raspberry Pi camera, and then that will go right on the front here like that. And then I made this bezel here. It's basically made out of like a cardstock material, and then this is I'm forgetting what this is called. It's kind of like gaffer's tape basically, and that worked out pretty well. And then in the back here I have just some plexiglass I had lying around. Thankfully it was already scratched up so that it was kind of opaque there. That's what the look I was going for, so that was already done, which is awesome. So the next step is to take these wood pieces and stain them. I've got some stain here, and we'll go from there. Hey guys, well, it is October 20th, which puts us, 11 days away from Halloween now. And as per usual, we have what feels like a million things left to do, but that's how it goes. So we are doing well on the town. Thankfully, it's all set up and mostly decorated, which is great. Most of the lighting is done. I'm waiting on a few new lights that I ordered. I think those will be here today, so I can get those in just to add some additional spotlights and stuff. All the pumpkins are up, and most of the other decorations are up, so that's great. The main things we have left to complete is our new facade. We have one wall flat out there just to kind of see how it looked, but that looks kind of silly, so we really need to get the rest of that done. So that needs to get done. We need to set up the Pepper's Ghost scene. Last year I ended up just taking that big frame and just cutting it in half to make it easier to store. So I need to put that back together and then put a new insulation film on there. I think that's basically just what we'll have to do each year, is just plan on putting a new film on there. It really doesn't take that long and they're not that expensive, so that's the easiest way to handle that. So we still have that to do. And then the Undertaker, I'm going to build another flat or two for that because we're extending the inside of that a little bit. So I need to do that before we can set up the scene in there, and we have need to set up the scrim in there for our projection and all that good stuff. So besides that, we still have to set up the shooting gallery, but that's usually, you know, we wait towards the end. Most years on that, it typically takes a day, so it's not too bad. And then of course the photo booth. So I am determined to get that up and running this year, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So that would be really nice to have that running this year. So let me show you what we got going on. Alright, so I got the wood for the camera all stained. It's looking pretty good. I was wanting a little bit darker finish, but I just went with what we had in the garage. I tried a couple of them. This is just a cherry stain. It's kind of old, so I'm guessing maybe that's why it was a little bit light, but I still think it looks cool. So what I need to do still on this is go ahead, and these are just kind of sitting up here, so I need to assemble this, and then I do need to cut a slot somewhere on here to run the cable for the camera down to the Raspberry Pi. So that should work pretty well. Our new facade kind of got delayed a little bit because we ran out of crackle paint. Unfortunately, it was out of stock on Amazon, and the estimated delivery was like November 2nd, which obviously wouldn't work out so well. So luckily I was able to find one on eBay, and the seller happened to be in Texas. So I got that right away. So that is great. So we can hopefully finish this up soon. We've got flats all over the place in here. I still have to put the siding on that one. Those two guys need crackle paint. This one we got to redo this one because this was like the learning planks here. When we first started out, it didn't really come out great, so we're going to just go ahead and paint this one brown again and then do it again. We got another side one over here, and I believe one of the front flats, you can't really see it real well, but this flat down here, that one's done, so we still need to do this other one here. We found that originally we painted the slats separately, like just independently, and that worked fine, but it's pretty time consuming, so we went ahead and just tried putting them on the flats and then doing the crackle paint on that, which was, this is how this one was done, and it turned out really well, and you're not trying to take the planks and find places for them to dry and set them all over the yard, so it seemed a little bit quicker, so we were glad that we tried that and it worked out well. So we just need to finish these up, and then I've got some trim work to do. I need to build some doors. I'm hoping maybe I can come up with something simple for that so it doesn't take too long, and then we can get this guy set up. I've been working on getting the computer set up for the photo booth, and it's going pretty well. Right here, I'm pretty excited about how this is turning out. So I was looking for a way to mount this and thought about putting it in a project box, or maybe just putting it on a board, but I decided to go this route here. And what these are is these rails are called DIN rails. They've been around forever. They've been used, I think it was since the 50s maybe, used for like telephone and electrical work and stuff, for mounting all kinds of different things. And I saw somebody mention this online, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. So you can get clips. I found for this one here, this is the Raspberry Pi, and I found a mount for that worked perfect, so I just printed that one out. And then for the relay board, this is going to be used to control lights and other parts of the photo booth. So I couldn't find one that was the right size for that, so I was able to find one of the clips, and then I just modified it to add mounts for this particular board. So I can do that for any of the other components that I'm going to put on here. And then I've made these legs over here and then just bolted the rail onto that. And I've got one on the other side too. So I can mount all of my stuff there, and this will just sit inside the crate. So basically the camera will be on top, and then there'll be a crate that is housing this monitor here, and it will have this button, and it will have this printer. And then inside the crate, I can go ahead and just set this in there, and it's great because that way when it comes time to store, I can just easily store this computer module, because I don't like to have that kind of stuff outside, because it obviously it's not the best to store it outside in the heat and weather and things like that. So I think that's going to work out really well, and it's going to be nice and flexible, so these things can slide around, you can unclip them, and I can print out custom clips for whatever I need. So I'm excited about that. And I got this thermal printer here. It's basically like a receipt printer. You can see example, it's just like a receipt printer. But what it's going to do is when it takes their pictures, each run of the program, it will generate a unique code and save the pictures under that code. And then at the end, it will go ahead and print out a receipt, and it'll have that unique code on it and a website address, along with a QR code that they can scan and go and download their pictures. So I think that's going to actually work out pretty well. I don't know if, I'm picturing maybe like people won't pay attention and there'll be all these receipts hanging out, like, you show up at the gas station, you see there's receipts hanging out of the machine. So probably we'll just have to periodically check in there to see if there's a bunch of paper hanging out, but I think it'll work pretty good. I was trying to come up with an easy way for people to get their pictures. I thought about just displaying that information on the screen, but then they would have to have their phone to take a picture, or if it's kids, the parents would have to come take a picture. So I'm thinking we'll try this. And there wasn't a real great way to print the actual photos. I didn't want to invest in like a new printer or anything like that. So this was, pretty, I think this was maybe $40 or something like that, $35. So it was pretty affordable. So we're going to try this setup for this year and see how it goes. We wanted to add some additional pumpkins this year, so I went ahead and printed out and assembled 4 more of the pumpkin mounts that I made last year. These worked out great and made it a lot easier, and it holds up the pumpkins on top of the facades perfectly, so that's great. We've got some of our new pumpkins over here that we carved. We just carved these with a hot knife. We find patterns online. I believe the site is zombiepumpkins.com, maybe something like that. We've used that site for years, so we got some more designs out there and went ahead and cut them out. So these guys are all ready to go outside. Alright, so we got everything set up over here for the sheriff's office. Got everything in there. We do need to put another skeleton in there now that I'm thinking about it. We've got our horse over here. Got her set up on the horse over here. I was intending to put a water trough back here, but I don't know that we're going to get to that. Bathhouse and the photographer, as well as the blacksmith. Undertaker's looking good as well. And over here we have our new facade, which is the bank. We're really happy with how this turned out. It's looking really good. It's a lot of work, and we're happy with it. Here's the backside of this facade, and we ended up doing, originally I was planning to do a plywood, the basic plywood how I would normally build a flat, and then put the siding on the top of that, but to save weight and cost, we decided to just go ahead and put the siding on. And I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to be strong enough, but I think it's fine. Certainly it would be a little bit stronger in the long term, like as far as durability with the 2 layers, but just saving on the weight is huge, because these things are, it gets tiring lugging them all around. These are the doors that I made. What I did is I used fence boards, cedar fence boards, and I cut them down to the different sizes that I needed. I happened to have some extra plywood lying around. That was from the photo building. Those were actually already cut in the perfect size for there, so what I ended up doing is just using pocket holes, you can kind of see one up here, to assemble these frames. And then these are just cheap, real thin pieces of plexiglass that I got, and then I just cut these pieces here to hold the planks in and to give the door some depth, so that way when you're looking from the outside it kind of looks like a full thickness door. So yeah, I'm really happy with how those turned out, and I think it's gonna work out well. Now we went ahead and put these big doors and windows there for a scene inside, and we're just not gonna have time for that. We wanted to build like a whole counter, like a teller, and have like a scene with a robber and all this fun stuff, but there's just not time for that this year. So what we're going to end up doing is, you can see we got these, well, over here I got these curtains. So I think what we're going to do is just set up a curtain in here and then just do a projection, just so that there's something fun to look at. We got the walls and the roof up for the shooting gallery, which is great. So the next step on that is to go ahead and get all the electronics in there and all the props and stuff, and that should be ready to go, hopefully. I do need to take a look at the guns and just check it. I usually check it each year because I can never remember if there was any issues last year. I feel like maybe one of the displays stopped working, so I did get a new one of those that I can put in there and hopefully fix that. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this episode. Halloween is rapidly approaching, and I'm going to spend the rest of the week working hard on the photo booth to hopefully get that done. Certainly have a few other little things that we're going to need to squeeze in there as well, but I'm hoping for the best. So thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.